Jeremy, always a pleasure to have you in studio. Amazon topping the list at #1. Why?
Fifi, always good to be with you. Yes, Amazon, because Amazon is growing faster than anything else. In the last year, it's gone up 42%, which is huge in branding terms. You know, most brands are scrambling to maintain relevance, but it's the tech brands, as you said, are growing of all brands. Of the global rankings from Brand Finance, the top 6 are tech brands. And when you look at this table dedicated just to the tech brands, I think it's the first 5 or 6 are American, then you get to Samsung, then you have 3 Chinese brands.
For sure.
And in number 10 is IBM, which you know, is over 100 years old, whereas most of these brands are perhaps under 20, under 30 at least. You know, they're youngsters.
For sure, and it shows. It shows. I mean, talking about a youngster kind of brand, you were talking about how Facebook was amongst the youngest tech brands here. Yet it occupies the 4th spot in terms of being the most valuable tech brand in the world. Except Facebook has run into some trouble recently, and I'm interested in finding, I mean, when this survey was it done when we knew about the data breach there in the US or after? And now that we know about it and we've seen Mark Zuckerberg there facing his time before the people there at Capitol Hill, will it affect its ranking at all?
This research was done towards the end of last year, early this year, so pre the breach. As you say, watching Mark Zuckerberg in front of those congressmen, Mark Zuckerberg today is 32, and I believe his first thoughts about what became Facebook was when he was 18, working in his study at Harvard, and that's where Facebook started, him and a colleague thinking, hey, we'd like to talk to our friends. Where is it going is a good question. I think it's had an incredible wake-up call about confidentiality, but as we know, social media at the moment, in many places, has no laws. It has no constraints to it. And this is where the law is behind the reality of technology today. So Facebook, I'm sure, is going to act, and other organizations will have to act as well. Will it knock it down a little bit? Yes, its share price has dropped a little bit, but will it come back? We'll have to see. I would suggest it will, because it's got a huge momentum. And let's face it, so many people can't do without Facebook.
No,
they're addicted. They're absolutely addicted to it.
Even people, there was a fear that people would be deleting their Facebook accounts after knowing that they were breached in South Africa. I understand some 100,000 data breaches took place. No one deleted, or not many, as I understand. Something that will make South African investors quite happy is this Tencent. Yeah,
yes,
Tencent,
yes, it is.
You know, Naspers' cash cow, essentially, ranking number 8.
Well, you've got the 3 Chinese, so I think it's Alibaba 7, Tencent 8, and then Huawei 9.
Sure.
And Tencent is an incredible brand. You know, in South Africa and Africa, our only knowledge is, oh, it's part of Naspers. But you go into China and Asia, it is absolutely huge and growing at an incredible rate as well. That's why the Naspers share price, as you would know, has been going through the roof because of Tencent. But all these Chinese brands are growing at an incredible rate. And people forget, you know, the size of the population in Asia, what's going on in China. And now we know as well that part of the Chinese government's policy going forward is to grow their brands and make their brands global. Because obviously if a country owns the brand, revenue should come back to that country. That's why America, you know, has got, as I say, 5 or 6 of the top brands. Out of the top 100 global brands outside of technology, America still has over half. And that means your economy is very strong having those brands. And that's what China is clipping into. And you might have seen the other night the amount of investment the Chinese are putting into Europe and the States, often buying into infrastructure companies or companies with strong brands, one of which is Mercedes-Benz.
I mean, Jeremy, are these brands, is it that they are doing something right when it comes to consumers and the products or the services that they're giving? Or is it because of the era that we're in now? Now it's about industrial or the 4th industrial revolution. So is it not just obvious that, you know, these brands would be amongst the top brands in the world, brands that are related to this 4th industrial revolution?
Look, that's a great question. It's very complicated as well. What we want, all of us today, is convenience. We want scale, we want availability, and that's what tech brands give us. You know, look how the smartphone, your computer, whatever, has changed our lives, even from a decade, 15 years ago. You know, and this is where tech brands are changing our lives, making it convenient, making it easier. Our lifestyles are all changing from our parents because of what's going on with the tech. And tech is emancipating things. We know in Africa, the mobile phone is the big emancipator. It's actually giving you connectivity, and connectivity gives you so much more. So it's a bit of all of that, but it's that convenience factor. And if one takes the conversation towards what's going on between China and America, is there going to be a trade war or whatever?
Sure.
The Americans are saying the big thing that they're scared of is the Chinese getting their technology. That's why they don't want the Chinese stealing it, as they put it. And that's where you get into sensitive issues. But this is where the Chinese have tried to invest in some American companies, and the Americans have said no. But despite that, the Chinese, as we say, 3 out of the top 10 and rising very fast. In fact, in all categories, not just tech, for the most part, the Chinese brands are growing at an incredible rate.